Hey gang, alright, so we got our drag and drop happening. That's nice. That's all working. Let's add Firebase. And so to do that, we're going to just go to Firebase, and you'll need to be logged in as a user. And you can then go to console and just add a project. So I'm going to add a project. I'm going to enter a project name, and it's going to be new image gallery. And we're all good there. I'm going to disenable Google Analytics because we don't need that. And it's going to just create me a new project. And while that's going, we can talk about what we're going to need, which is we're going to use Firebase storage, and we're going to use Cloud Firestore. We're not going to use authentication just now. I might make another video at some point adding authentication. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple. My new project is ready, and that's great. So I've got a new project named New Image Gallery. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually provision Cloud Firestore. I'm going to create database, and it's going to give me some ability to set some default rules. I'm going to start in test mode, which just basically gives me this rule that says if anybody tries to access this before Christmas, then that'll be just fine. It does mean that anybody anywhere can hack into my database at will, but we don't really care about that. And we're going to take this rule and also copy it over to our Firebase storage. Even though that's tremendously unsecure, we just don't care. We want to get started. And we can change those rules. For instance, if we add users, we can say only registered users can have access to this stuff, or only registered users can write to my database. Anybody can read from it. So I'll just click Start Collection, and my collection is going to be called Images, and I'm going to auto ID it and save it. And now I've got images, and here's a thing, and I can add a document, and I'll say maybe this will be image URL. It'll be a string, and you can see I've got one item, but I don't really need that item, so I'm going to delete that. But we do have this collection here, and we're going to use that in a minute. But first, we're going to go back, and we're going to go to our project overview, go to our project settings, and we can see down here there's no apps. I'm going to make an app. It's going to be a web app, and I'm going to set up hosting, and I'm going to call this image. I'm going to just call it New Image Gallery again. And I'll register this app, and it's going to give me some URLs that I can add to my app. And so I'll grab this file here, Firebase app.js, and I'll put this at the top of my document up here, just like we do with P5. And we're not going to need that init. You may want to install the Firebase tools. And when you've installed the Firebase tools with npm install g Firebase tools, I've already done that, so I won't do it again. You can also log in and init and deploy. But we're gonna come back and do that later. What we want to do right now is we want to get this what's in here, this config, we're going to do that configuration ourselves. So I'm going to go to project overview, settings, and go to, I think, where is that? My web app. I want to get my config file, and this config file here is what I'm going to copy and paste into my app. So that's going to have all the information that my app needs to access Firebase. And what I'm going to do is, in my app, in here, up at the very top, I'll have my Firebase config. And then what we need to do is we need to say Firebase dot initialize, Firebase dot initialize app, and pass in that object, Firebase config. And so that's really all we need to do to get Firebase set up, is we need to have this Firebase config, we need to initialize the app, and we need to bring in that Firebase object from Firebase app.js. Now we're also going to use storage, but first let's finish setting up our database. We'll say const db, so we'll make this reference to our deep database, and that database is going to be that Firebase object we just got, and we're going to say firebase.firestore. And we also need to then bring in the Firebase Firestore JavaScript. So in here we can we're going to use the same version number, and we'll just add also, we want to get from that CDN, we want to also get Firebase.firestore, and also Firebase.storage. So now we're importing these 3 Firebase libraries, and in here we can say const storage equals I think it's Firebase dot storage. So now we've got a reference to our storage as well, and we can use that storage to upload our images. So let's go back to our Firebase app, and I'm going to go to my new image gallery, and I'm going to look at storage. And so there's my storage. This is a very important step. I got to go in here to these rules. And before, you remember, we set up with our Cloud Firestore, we set up our rules so that they would have allow read write if request timestamp is before this. I'm going to just copy this whole rule over and add it to my storage. So in my storage rules right now it says if request.auth is not equal to null. In other words, if there's a registered user, then let them do some stuff. I'm going to copy and paste allow read write if request.time is less than timestamp. And so now any request that comes before Christmas will be allowed. And I'm going to comment out this line, or you can delete it, and I'll click publish. And now I've changed the rules for Firebase storage, and you should also make sure that your rules for Firestore allow that same behavior. Now we're gonna add an image file up here to storage, and we'll do that. We're gonna take our request from the not request. We're gonna take the event, this drop event, and instead of adding to gallery, we're gonna upload a file. So I'll do that in the next video. We'll get started.